Hey, hello and welcome to this really fun tutorial by Flomotion, because today we will slow down the time till it stops. And then, of course, we will turn it back. So just follow me to After Effects. Hey, hello and welcome to this really fun tutorial by Flomotion, because today we will slow down the time until it stops. And then we will turn it back. So just follow me into After Effects. Today it is all about time. And one way to save some time is simply to freeze it, as I have done at the moment. And this will also be the main part of this tutorial. But let's split this into 3 different sections. Well, and get out of this freezing mode. Okay, better. So in the first part of this tutorial we will focus on time effects within After Effects. Speed ramping, time warping, as well as freeze framing. Once we understood all about the time effects and how to get them to work in our favor, we will jump to part 2, where we will create a stabilized headshot that we can use for part 3, where we add some visual effects art to all of this. So we will go into Mocha and get super advanced. I'm going to show you how to track something that is untrackable. And while we're at it, I'm also going to show you how to use Mocha for some advanced roto tasks. Hey, and there are chapters within the timeline, so you can directly jump to the different parts or rewatch if I got your attention. And if you watch to the very end, I will also announce the winner of the yearly Envato Element subscription from the last video. So now up to part 1. Time remapping in After Effects. So most of those effects work best if you have enough frames to play with. And this is why I shot everything you see today with an iPhone, as this is capable of shooting up to 240 frames a second. And as we normally work with only 24 frames, this is 10 times faster. So when we have a look at it in a 24 frames per second timeline, it will look 10 times slower. Oh wait, what if we do not have a camera that can film with such a high frame rate? Let's have a look at this to understand what is going on when After Effects is trying to slow things down. This footage was shot with a 24 frames per second camera. And now we can slow it down by simply right-click on it, go to time stretch, and stretch it to 200, so half the speed. And by the way, you can also have this as a column over here and simply play with it. Or hold down Alt while dragging out your layer. But what is actually happening now? We have to tell After Effects what to do with this, because now in between each frame needs to be a frame that has not been there before. And there are 3 methods you can use for that. So go to Layer, Frame Blending, and you can choose between Off, Frame Mix, and Pixel Motion. So Off is the default. After Effects simply duplicates the frames, so we always see the frame twice before we jump to the next frame, which is not what we want at all, especially when we slow it down a lot. So, second is Frame Mix, which blends both of the frames on top of each other, in that case with 50% transparency for each frame. And the last and probably the method you want to have is called Optical Flow. So don't get confused. After Effects calls it Pixel Motion. This method looks for the motion of each pixel within the 2 different frames, and then creates new pixels according to that. So the method is almost the same like morphing between the 2 pictures. Great. Other than the 2 previous methods, we will get in between frames that have not existed before. So the good news, this is awesome! And the bad news, this just takes a lot of time to render. For all of that, you can also simply click over here on the frame blending icon. If nothing is selected, it is set to default, off. The 2 images icon tells that, well, the 2 images are blended on top of each other, and this last icon shows us that pixel motion is enabled. Perfect. So, what happens when we use our 230 frames per second clip? Well, basically it has 240 frames in 1 second, and we only need 24. So even if you slow it down 10 times, After Effects still has enough frames to play it smooth. And only after that you will need to watch out and, as you just learned, turn on optical flow, aka pixel motion. So now let's try to animate our speed. And I'm doing that with a standard workflow now. Because once you understood that, we will delete what I'm doing now and build upon it to improve it a lot. Sounds complicated, but once you see it, you will understand. At first, I'm going through the shot and set markers. And I can do that by simply dragging them out from over here or hit the multiply button on the numpad. So let's set a marker for all parts in the video that are important to us. So this is the start frame. And I'm also typing in the frame number. And if your comp is not set to frames but to time, you can simply change that by holding down Control and click over here. Okay, and this is the end frame. Here I start to jump, and here I just hit the water surface. Now we are all set up. Now let's retime our footage. Therefore, right-click on it and go to Retime. And we will set a keyframe wherever we have set a marker. Hey, and did you know that you can also color code the keyframes? So I make the start green and maybe the point where I hit the water blue. So I still know where I am in time later. Now we can simply select all keyframes, expect the first one and bring them closer to the beginning. And in that way we will move not only the keyframes but also the timing. And it will speed up. You see, the starting point or the starting keyframe of course stays the same, but we reach the next timing or next keyframe way sooner. Now we can also copy the point in time where I hit the water and paste it a few seconds later. So by that, nothing will happen to our time in between and it will freeze. And when we play this back, you see it looks good, but a bit strange, as this is not really smooth, but it changes speed at all keyframes. But we can improve on that by going into the graph editor over here, select the time remapping keyframes, and by clicking over here, we create a curve. And now we can play with that and make that transition as smooth as we want it. And when we have a look at this, it is already looking super cool. And with optical flow enabled, you can really see the new generated images when we are in super slow motion. And maybe you also see that we can get some artifacts or ghosting here. Well, then it's time to improve. But what do you think? Understood the principles of messing up time? Therefore, let's get rid of the retiming here and apply the time warp effect. The great thing about this is that you can connect your keyframes with a specific time and then move it around. Hey, isn't that exactly what we just did? Yes, but the default for retiming is already pixel motion, so optical flow. So we start from an even better position. And in here we also have some options to control the morph that is created between the frames. So why not grab some popcorn, put on your 3D glasses and enjoy me guiding you through all of this. So to get started, let's change this from speed to source frames. Believe me, you will get less frustration while trying it. And now let's set keyframes at our marked points, as before. So I set one at the water hit point. And it... what is happening? I see. It is still set to 0, so we see the first frame. So let's change this to our frame number. And we set everything up as before. And now I can simply copy the first keyframes to the end, select all of them, right-click on them, and time reverse keyframes. And I have created our backwards in time animation. But let's be honest, we could still have achieved the same with the time remapping, right? Well, kind of true. Until now, you could really do the same with both of the effects. But now let's have a look at the power of the time warp effect. Because we have a whole selection for fine-tuning and in there even for smoothing, which will drastically improve the look of our morph. And a tip here, the local smoothing and the iterations help a lot for the details in the shot. Hey, and if you get some ghosting within a frame, the error threshold is your best friend. And there's even a whole portion just for motion blur settings. So I hope you got it. You can do pretty cool retiming here with the power of controlling what happens with the new generated in-between images. So now finally up to part 2 of this tutorial. And therefore let's use the juggling clip, because as you may have seen, the time slows down, freezes and speeds up, but I'm still speaking in real time. What I did is I recorded 2 parts of this. One with just juggling, where I'm not speaking, and I have already retimed this in the same way we just learned. And a second one, speaking, where I try to stand as still as possible. So let's stabilize this shot so we can later on track it onto our face again. And let me try to do it with the After Effects tracker this time. So I click on the footage, go to Track and Stabilize. Click on Track Motion and select Stabilize Motion. In here, let us select Position and Rotation. And this brings up 2 trackers, and I place them on my eyes and start tracking forward. Oh, okay. Okay, now I have stabilized my head and for your convenience already pre-rendered. But we can even prep it a bit more. So let's isolate my head. And by that I mean roto it out. And as I am lazy but still professional, I use the roto brush tool. Double click on the layer to enter the layer mode, go to the roto brush tool and paint over the part that I want to keep. And if I want to remove something, I can hold down Alt while painting. Okay, looking good. So to get all the details in my hair and my beard, I can use the Refine Roto Brush tool. Simply choose it here and paint on all the details. Super cool. Now let's freeze it. No, not the time. That means let After Effects go through the clip frame by frame, analyze and adjust it. And believe me or not, I also pre-rendered that. This time of course with an alpha channel. So let's place it on top of the retimed juggling footage and adjust position, rotation and scaling until we are happy and pre-compose this. Because I want to have the same dimensions for both of the layers, which is super important for the tracking to work. So speaking of tracking, now we can start with part 3, the actual tutorial. We have the time remap footage from part 1 and the stabilized head from part 2. Now, let us select the footage we want to track and apply the Mocha effect to this. And I'm going with Mocha Pro this time. So you could also use the standard Mocha effect, but I will also show you some benefits of the Pro version. So we jump into Mocha by clicking on the logo over here. Now, let's set all of this up. I especially choose this clip because it is really advanced to track. And I got many comments from you. How to track a shot where someone is passing by in front or something is moving across the part I want to track. And obviously I want to track the head, but there are 3 balls that just mess up the track. So let's do it. At first I create a shape around my head. And I also call it head to keep it organized. So let's quickly go to a frame where a ball is covering the tracking area. And when I click on that layer mat icon here, I can see the area that Mocha is tracking. So at the moment, it's the whole face. So let us quickly create a mask around the ball. And a super easy way to do it is with the magnetic lasso tool that automatically detects edges. I simply move it close to the edge and it detects it. And when I move around the area, I can click and Mocha automatically creates the least and best amount of points for me. Perfect! This is such a time saver and improvement when it comes to advanced roto tasks. What I can do now is bring it on top of the head track, because that is something that passes in front of the track. And when we take a look at our tracking area now, Mocha automatically removes that area from the track. So by simply rotoing out the 3 balls and bring those 3 layers on top, Mocha will then track the face, but not the parts where the balls are covering the tracking area. That is just perfect, but we can go even further. I'm still going to track the balls too. In that way, I will have the shape of all 3 balls tracked and rotoed at the same time, and I can use that as a mat later. And in the same time, we have also tracked our face. So We kill 4 tracking birds with just 1 Mocha stone. Hey, and if you also think about buying the Pro version of Mocha, which by the way is my favorite tracking tool, you can save 20% if you use my code FLOMOCHA20 at the checkout. And the link is also in the video description. And by the way, Mocha Pro has even more to offer. One of the best tools is definitely the mesh tracker that allows you to track skin or fabric, like I have done in this video here. So, back to our track. Let's go to the frame where we have created our face reference and click on that surface tool, which is now aligned to the face. But remember that we pre-comped our face, so now it has the full comp resolution. Hey, we can also extend the blue square around our face to be full frame, so everything aligns later on in After Effects. Just click on that icon that is especially made for that. Now, just save and close it and we are back in our composition. So let's directly copy the clip together with the Mocha effect and bring it above our face and call this balls. Now go to the effect, twirl down the matte section and I can click on create AE masks. And voila, we have our balls on a separate layer with keyframes for all 3 ball masks. So we can still fine tweak all of this in here or even add motion blur. Hey, and remember we have done that roto with just a few clicks and dragged and rotoed 3 balls together with the face at the same time. Magic. Now, next, let's go to the tracking data tab and click on create tracking data. And of course, we select our head. Let's choose transform as export option and the face layer as our layer to export to and hit apply. And now we are just missing one last step here. We want to remove the already existing head from our background. And nothing easier than that. Duplicate the footage layer, create a mask around the head. Now grab the pen behind tool by hitting Y and simply move the inside of the mask to a part where the head is gone and feather it a bit. Now, all you need to do is to like, comment and share this video. Hey, and if you haven't done yet, please subscribe so I can do more of those in-depth tutorials for you. And before I let you go, I still have to announce today's winner of a yearly subscription for Envato Elements. And the winner is Johannes Nell. Hey, thank you so much for your comment and support. You see, it makes total sense to be a subscriber here. Hey, I am super curious to see what you will come up with. And now I wish you a lot of fun, a lot of time in After Effects.